night.
Yes.
Right now, over 54% of members of the Republican Party in the U.S. Are saying that the U.S. Constitution should be amended so that Trump can run a third term. Have you seen that?
Strange things.
So what I'm saying is that, this objectifies the fact that African politics, especially in the West African sub-region, we are not moving forward. Yes, why you said congratulations to Ghana because of peaceful transition of power from one party to the other. The question is, Ghanaians are still going backwards to look for solution when they should be moving forward. What that means is that 8 years of President Akufo-Addo was simply a waste. Because Ghanaians,
nothing changed for them to have gone back.
Ghanaians have found themselves in worse economic situation than they were under Mahama 8 years ago. Just like if you tell an average Nigerian today and say, are your conditions today better than when Buhari was there? The answer is a capital no. Forget about all the careful and
the rhetorics,
the rhetoric, the carefully calibrated message of we are making progress, the GDP is growing and all that. The truth of the matter is that the GDP that matters, as far as people are concerned, the living conditions of the people.
Has it gotten better?
Yes, the Naira gained some few
improvements.
So Naira was trading at 700 and something, 735. It traded at 1,585 on Friday, but now it's back to about almost 1.7
again.
So
and then when it went to 1,580, they were all in town.
It was a celebration. the magic wand has finally been
happened. We are now making progress.
And when you compare, look at a country like Nigeria and South Korea. They were on the same pedestal economically. From the 60s when they gained their independence, they were on the same pedestal. Compare Nigeria to Malaysia. Look at how these countries have left us behind.
Far behind.
We are still struggling with the basic things. Last night I was watching a film that showed Uganda and Rwanda, and you will see that the only country that has made progress, even in the East African flank, it's like Rwanda and maybe Tanzania. When you look at the streets of Uganda, it's like you are in Lagos. The usual potholes, the ugly houses and
it's the only model that they keep talking about.
You go to any African country, the outlook is almost the same. Okada riders, keke marwa on the street,
poor infrastructure, dusty road,
infrastructure, and all that. So I do hope that that Mahama can put a smile on the faces of the Ghanaians who voted for him. But for me, it's just a dance from. It's like those of us who grew up in the time of the Whisper, School and the Gang, Skyline, the Commodores and all that now. And for people like you who grew up under the video them, Baby Pullover and all those things. Now, for us to be nostalgic about the past, it doesn't necessarily mean that the past gave us better results. But I mean, when people are desperate, when they've run out of options and they don't know what to do, then they begin to cry for what they had and not what they should be having. And that's what you are seeing in the Ghanaian election. And that's also what is happening in the country.
Well, Ghanaians have decided to go back to look for solution. Which by Takodi says, look, if you get to a point in your life as a nation where you begin to look at the current leaders as worse off than the ones that handed over, then there's a problem. It means the country is not making any progress. Well, John Dramani Mahama, 65 years, previously led Ghana from 2012 until 2017 when he was replaced by Akufo-Addo. Mahama also lost the 2020 election, so this victory represents a stunning comeback. Since the return of the multi-party politics to Ghana in 1992, the NDC and the MPP have alternated power. It's been between the two political parties. No party has ever won more than 2 consecutive terms in power, a trend that looks set to continue. Mahama's previous time in office was marred by an ailing economy, frequent power cuts, and corruption scandals. However, Ghanaians hope it will be different this time around. Again, for sake of emphasis, John Mahama's previous time in office was marred by an ailing economy, frequent power cuts, and corruption scandals. But the Ghanaians are hoping that it's going to be different now. Are you hopeful that Ghanaians probably could get a solution from the past?
Well, congratulations to Ghana.
At least peaceful transfer of power.
Yes, and in fact, if not because of the last minute and that I don't want to leave Nigeria, I was offered to cover that election. One thing there is this. If you look at Ghana, democracy has stand to stay in Ghana.
At least they've been able to at least that culture.
Apart from that culture, I have witnessed the election that Mahama lost. I covered that particular election. I tried to juxtapose it with our election here. After voting, people are going to market. They don't close the day for election, number one. Then number two, nobody steals ballot paper in Ghana. Ballot boxes in Ghana. There is no issue of tout holding cane on the day of election. And the election is not militarized the way we have in Nigeria. So on that particular note, I want to thank the people of Ghana and I want to thank the politicians. Because if they don't make it possible, if Hado really wants his party to be in power with money, with a lot of security operatives, he will have done it. But they have put some legacy on ground that
set that standard.
Every other politicians really wants to be going with that. And one thing there is this: every voter in Ghana has the opportunity to vote in and vote out. You see that particular thinking that come in 4 years, if you don't do very well, we'll vote you out. Power. It makes the politicians to be able to say, I want to do the best. And what are the things that really caused that particular election? You see, IMF is one of the reasons why Patriotic Party, why they lost, is because of IMF policies. You understand now? And the way they've devalued their own currency at that particular time, till now, they are still suffering from it. Well, there's still corruption. The inflation rate is another thing. But for the fact that every Ghanaian has the right to vote.
And the votes count.
And the vote counts. Look at it. They've not even declared the election. Every candidate has their own results tally. Yeah. And they saw it that come. I've lost this election. Okay, well, let me come out. But one thing that is so certain here is this: is Ghanaians thinking right? In Yoruba, Aishede de araye, loje kamaranti arorun. That means when people that are alive today in Ghana are not doing well, that's the reason why they can be thinking of their forefathers that have died for a very longer time. And that's the reason why I go with barrister.com. Are they the change they are looking for? Can
they get it from the past?
When they say a former, and one thing there is that Bama is one of luckiest politician in Ghana. He was a former parliamentarian, former minister, former vice president, former president, now president again. So we want to see what he's going to do, but I just pray and wish that Ghanaians have made the right choice, or else in the next 4 years,
are they going to go back to?
Are they going to go back maybe to the vice president that they left?
They left this time. But Sakotis, like Anurudin said, the democratic culture in Ghana, at least, it's almost like a legacy now. It's almost like a model, because again, no party has won more than 2 consecutive since the return of democracy, multi-party democracy in 1992. No party has done more than 2 consecutive times. So it means there's been that balance of power, a change of power, and it shows that the people's votes have always counted. Yes, in this particular election, there were reported cases of violence. I think 1 death was recorded, and maybe 1 or 2 issues with people trying to manipulate the process. In fact, the delays in announcing results have also been questioned. But look, the political actors have said, look, this is what the result is, congratulated themselves, and have moved on. But again, the democratic culture, what Nigeria has been able to achieve with our democracy. Yes, it's been over 25 years of sustained democracy from 1999 till date. With what Ghana has been able to do from 1992, Barrister Curtis, can we say that, look, yes, there might be issues with the quality of leadership in Ghana, but the democratic culture, is it anything compared to, can we compare it in any way to what we have in Nigeria. Again, I say this because I think just yesterday or a day before, the governor of Anambra State, Charles Soludo, was at the forum where he said that, look, we have improved substantially with our electoral process. That is getting better. Because in the past, it was not as good as this.
And you know why he's saying that?
I don't know.
He won his election.
His elections are coming. His election is coming up soon.
So if he thinks the electoral process is okay.
No, if he doesn't play Adams Oshomole's re-election election, remember that very early on in the day, Oshomole had come out to condemn INEC completely and how the process was being rigged and all that. But when the results eventually came out and he won, he congratulated INEC and accepted the results. Okay? Now, there are few places where the conduct of politicians in Nigeria and in Ghana are joined at the waist. We conduct elections.
At least that happens.
Yes. But we have more violence in our election. We have more corruption in our election. We have more rigging in our election than they have in Ghana. At least, like Nuruddin observed, Ghana don't have to shut down the entire economy or restrict movement of people on election day, just like in any Western world, where you don't even know it's election day, other than the fact that people are going out to cast their vote. The second thing is that we've seen consistency in the pattern, in the sense that that mimics that of the United States. You see that there are two major political parties in Ghana.
In Ghana, yes.
Just like you have in the United States, the Democrats and the Republicans. And you see that most times, the culture in America is that one party holds the White House for 2 terms. Then there is a change election. It goes to the Republican because the ideas are competing. You know, if you are a Democrat, when you go into the White House, you want to impose more taxes on the wealthy people. You want to say you are pro-choice. You know, you want to talk about more government interventions in people's life, Medicaid, Medicaid.
A bit more relaxed immigration rules and all that. Yeah.
Now, when you are a Republican, you want a smaller government. You want to cut
use taxes for the rich.
Yes. You want free market economy. Until recently, when Trump,
the ideology is different, but the end goal is the same.
Yes.
America must be good.
Yes. So what voters 3 terms, and that was after Ronald Reagan, his vice president George Bush Sr. was elected. But when he sought a second term, he lost to Bill Clinton.
Yes.
Because it was a change election. Now, that's what we are witnessing
in Ghana.
The Ghanaians have learned, I've built this culture of changing from one party to another. And that tells you that they care more about the issues
than the personalities.
Than the personality, than the religion and the ethnic sentiment and configuration, which are still major problems
in Nigeria.
In Nigeria. What we thought we broke with Abiola's election, that the Yoruba man, though a Muslim, defeated Bashir Tofa in Kano.
In his hometown.
And we said, look, Nigerians have just basically moved away from religion and ethnicity in our election. These things are fully back. So you cannot compare our elections with that of Ghana. We've got more steps to climb.
More work to do.
More work to do. People like Charles Soludo, you know, all these political actors, they're playing this game of mental, what did I call it?
Perception management.
You know, just like you saw what happened in Edo, where at some point, even before Obaseki entered into a new mode, he was always saying that he believes that the INEC will do what is right for the country. He believes that the president is a Democrat and all that. And then when he saw the handwriting clearly on the wall,
he changed
his position. But that does not mean that we don't have to improve our electoral processes.
Yes.
Because you see, democracy is not just about conducting elections and having results. The processes are also very important. In the last election in Nigeria, there were people who couldn't cast their vote. Not because they didn't want to, but thugs and touts would not let them cast a vote because they just assume that they're not going to vote for their candidate. Okay? The second thing is the over-militarization
of our elections.
It is like a war front when you see our election. But then when you look at the crucible, when you go down and you distill, you see this is just a facade. You know why?
Why?
You go to polling booths. Policemen that are deployed to provide security are not allowed to carry arms.
So why the number?
They just carry baton. But policemen on the streets.
They have the guns.
On the street. Stopping traffic, carry guns.
Yeah, because we covered the elections by Mr. Curtis.
Exactly.
And why going from one place to another? We had, in fact, not just policemen. We had soldiers, with heavy weapons, armor tanks, stopping us.
Soldiers were carrying
on the roads.
On the roads,
but
yes.
Close to the ballot boxes.
No, they were not there.
And so we got to places where ballot boxes were snatched. The voters, the community people were helpless because they said, look, these policemen cannot even help us.
They don't have arms. They're not armed.
So
they were just carrying baton. I'm telling you.
So you now begin to wonder why that militarization when protection of ballot boxes are not guaranteed.
And this whole idea that INEC and the military could be used by any party in power to change the outcome of our electoral contest are areas we should also look at. So I think on that score, Ghana is far ahead of us. I think, and also that goes into the temperament of an average Ghanaian. The world all over, they have more respect for Ghana than they have for Nigeria. If you take away the population size,
I can't argue that with you. But
there are so many countries that Ghanaians don't need visa to go into.
That we have to get a visa to go into.
Somebody say size. Today, Ghanaians come to Nigeria to buy our yam and export to the United States.
It has to go through Ghana.
Because we're having problem exporting ours because of the practices.
They don't just trust us. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and you see that also reflect in the democracy. That attitude to give up easily. The results have not been...
These are the little things that make nations respect some of these nations.
Do you know that in 2015, the results were yet to be fully announced before Jonathan
considered,
and called Buhari? And this used to be the tradition in the United States until Trump bucked it. In 2016, when he won that election, Hillary called him, congratulated him, and considered
victory
and called for support for him. In 2020, when he lost, he said he did not lose.
He was a rigged election, and until today, he doesn't even believe he lost that election.
Okay. But in 2024, when it was clear that Kamala Harris had lost,
she also considered.
What happened? She considered and made that call to him. And to wish him well. This is the backbone of democracy. And I don't also blame people who go to court in Nigeria. And you're not going to hear about anybody going to court in Ghana. That's another difference.
From what we do here.
That is because if you are significantly satisfied
with the results, the process,
the conduct of that election, why do you want to challenge it? The problem in Nigeria is that the political parties that are supposed to screen the candidates and ensure that they are even qualified to contest the election.
They start the problem.
They don't even do it well.
There's even no democracy within the parties.
No, that's a given. That there is no internal democracy
within the political parties.
What parties only want is democracy between them.
And you can't give what you don't have. Within you can't. Yes. You don't have democracy within, right? But you want it outside.
So and so when people who shouldn't even be candidates find themselves
become candidates,
that starts the legal process. Meanwhile, once and this is what the Supreme Court tried to nip in the bud by saying that if you are not a candidate in a particular election and a member of the party, you cannot challenge the outcome of the party primary.
Because that's always been a problem.
But the party needs to have high standards. In the United States, again, they call them gatekeepers. In those days, if you are not deemed to be well qualified to be president, you cannot emerge from any political party as the presidential candidate. People talk about Donald Trump, that he came and bucked all the dissent. But people don't realize that before Donald Trump, the Republican Party has kept away 5 men that could have been president, nationalists, populists, that could have been president before Trump.
Donald Trump, yeah.
The first one was Charles Coughlin, a Catholic priest. Very powerful. What's going on? His shows were syndicated in America. The Republican Party machinery stopped him. He said it wasn't good. The second person was Long Hill, governor of Louisiana, was assassinated in 1935 by one man who believed that he was not supposed to be president. Then there was Joseph McCarthy. Of course, we heard about McCarthyism. Very popular. Everybody thought he was going to win the ticket. Yes, the gatekeepers, the Republican. Then you had George Wallace, Governor George Wallace, again of I think Alabama, he was stopped. And then the guy who founded Ford Vehicles, was also in that league. The Republican Party.
Strong, influential people who couldn't, get the ticket of the party.
In the Democratic Party too.
So what happened with Trump?
So what happened was that over time, the influence of the gatekeepers in the party waned. Look at the Democratic Party, for instance, with the image, and those that were referred to as super delegates. Now, these super delegates are strong, entrenched party members who will influence the outcome of every presidential primaries. So you could go to the primaries and the caucuses of the party and lose, but the super delegate can sway it in your favor, because they believe you're a better candidate. But with the strong influence of Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Party decided to cut down. In fact, they eliminated super delegates. So you have to go and get it done now. And that was what happened in the Republican Party too, with less emphasis on the Republican establishment.
Make it more open and
fundraising, grassroots control, messaging, advertisement. Trump was able to seize the infrastructure,
the control of the party,
the Republican
structure
party,
of the party,
because he had the base, and that is why he's president today.
Okay, well,
so we Nigerians, as Nigerians, we've got a few things to learn from the Ghanaians, and that is to begin to look at election as a contest
of ideas.
Not
necessarily about those personalities.
Not a contest of religion, ethnicity, and even personalities.
All right. Well,
let
again,
me add this one.
Yes.
Do you know there is a polling unit in Agege in that election? Polling unit in Agege. In fact, it was situated in Salimonu Street in Agege.
He will soon be mayor of Agege.
He's the ambassador.
So what it means is that you will see them in the morning when they came. What they do is that they put two plastic, they put it on the table. Everybody will wait. They have a radio, and there is representatives of the Electoral Commission that will come to Nigeria. So all those people in Mushin that are Ghanaians, they will come to Agege to come and vote. And that particular person will represent the electoral whatever, is the one that will blow the whistle when the election is going to start. And they will start checking people. They bring their normal card, they check. They have their list. They have representative of the two parties.
Yes.
And they will do it. After they've done, they will count it. They will now wait till when they are going to tell everybody this is the number of election we have. And that is the thing.
And very easy.
Yeah. Then this is one of the lessons that Nigeria must learn.
Yes.
It is a high point now. We have a lot of Nigerians outside this particular country. But the fear is this. If we have not gotten our own country, our structure right in Nigeria, can we do it outside? And that's one of the things that we need to learn.
Well, a lot that, very unfortunate again that, we are talking about learning from Ghana. Because again, I'm sure we will never forget the rivalry when it comes to jollof rice and football and so many other things. So one will think that, look, we should be able to set the pace also when it comes to our electoral process.
And their money is stronger than ours today. They say they have no incentive.
It's a reality that is difficult for me to accept, really. But what can we do? They seem to be ahead of us, really. We have a bigger economy.
Do you know the number?
We have bigger resources.
The number of companies that left Nigeria
for Ghana,
and they are now importing their products into our country.
Are you aware they have done a bag now in Ghana called Nigeria Must Go? It used to be Ghana Must Go,
yes, which we did under Shagari.
They have a bag that says Nigeria Must
Go. Well, we're hoping that our leaders would, put us again on that global map as a people that are process-driven, that can do things right. Because again, those are the little things that makes people respect you. We are hearing of travel ban now in the US by Mr. Curtis, and Ghana is not listed. They are never listed.
No, I mean when it comes to breaches or
infractions, travel,
immigration rules and all that. Ghanaians are not as mentioned as Nigerians. But again, don't forget that Trump says he doesn't want immigration from shithole countries. Ghana, of course, is in Africa, so it's part of the shithole.
We are not shithole. Donald Trump knows what he's saying, but we'll congratulate Ghanaians, for that peaceful election. Really, one or two issues, but of course, it's just beautiful to see that, look, the democratic culture is becoming entrenched.
There are no
in
perfect
Africa.
elections.
Yeah, never perfect elections.
What is required is substantial compliance with
to the rules of the election.
That's it. And they got that right.
Well, we're going to the Middle East, Mr. Curtis. The fall of Bashir al-Assad, that family that has ruled for over 50 years, Syria. I can't forget the Golan Heights, the story around the Golan Heights and all of that. It was almost unthinkable some few weeks ago that, look, Bashir al-Assad, who rebels have been attempting to dethrone for over 10 years now, over a decade.
14 years.
14 years they've been trying to remove him, when rebels started their astonishing campaign against the regime. But it was almost like an easy ride from Homs to Idlib, just city after city. And then it was getting to the point where people had said that, look, Damascus was going to fall. And it happened just, some few hours ago. It was officially announced that the rebels had entered Damascus and that, look, Bashar al-Assad and his family have left the presidential palace. They are nowhere to be found. And that officially ends the reign of the Assad family. He took over from his father, who had ruled for 30 years. He did 24. And that's together 54 years of the reign of that particular family. Now, a lot of conversations, Barrister Curtis, because, again, people may be wondering, what do you concern Nigeria with all of these people? But the thing is this, the world has become a global village. And some of these crises have far-reaching implications than we sometimes know. Russia had helped Assad stay in power. The Arab Spring was going to remove him. That was when the Arab Spring started. But Russia kept him in power. Using their jet fighters and all of that to pummel the Kurdish rebels back and all of that. You also had Iran, who had also helped him, stay in power. But the analysis is that, look, Russia has its own problem now. Iran also has its own battles with Israel, with Gaza, Lebanon, and all of that. And then the conversation around Turkey also coming into these, the Kurds, who are also a bit problematic for Turkey in northern Turkey. And then now that, Assad is officially off, because, again, he's not a good friend, really, to Erdogan. What are the implications of the end of this reign, the Assad family's reign of control over Syria? What are the implications, one, for peace in the Middle East, and then the politics of that region? What can come from this, really?
Okay, so here is the issue. Of course, you know that Bashar al-Assad succeeded his father in 2000. Hafez al-Assad.
Al-Assad, yeah. Was
in power from 1970 until 2000. And the plan wasn't for Bashar al-Assad to be president.
Yes.
The plan was for his first son. Unfortunately,
to take over.
He got killed in a car crash, and Bashar al-Assad took over from his father unchallenged, and he has been president in the last 24 years. However, you must understand the makeup of Syria. Of course, an Arab nation, but Syria operates as a counter-Mediterranean country. But what I mean by that is that you have a situation in the country where the minority actually controls the levers of government. The al-Assad belongs to the Alawite ethnic group.
A very minority group.
In a country where you have Sunni as well as the Druze giving you the majority. But they have been sustained in power by Iran, especially the Hezbollah.
Hezbollah group
in Lebanon,
the
Hamas in Palestine. Every time they had problem, these guys will come to support them to help to sustain him in power. And what do we see now, especially when this guy Qasem Soleimani was alive? He was Iran's unofficial ambassador to Syria,
helping with fighters and all of that.
Hassan Nasrallah of Hezbollah, of course, was also there to launch cruise missiles against the enemies of the regime. And of course, you know that Qasem Soleimani was taken out by Trump, I think in 2017, somewhere in Iraq on his way back from a trip. Again, Israel has always been ambivalent.
Whatever happens in Syria.
All Israel wanted was the protection of the Golan Heights as a buffer zone. So long as there's this unwritten agreement between the Syrian leaders and the Israeli leaders, that Syria, after losing the Golan Heights in 1967, will continue to watch over the Golan Heights and ensure that
protect it.
Enemies of Israel do
Don't
not
take
use
it over.
that to attack Israel. And that is why you saw that Israel has been pulling back. They just moved in today now to take control of that book. But Israel also was ambivalent towards the survivor of Bashar al-Assad, because he felt that Bashar was not doing enough to protect that area for Israel. Now, having said that, there's been this constant push by the Kurdish, the EDF.
The Kurdistans,
I mean, the Syrian Democratic Force, backed by the U.S., because Assad has enemies all over.
Of course.
Then you also have the leftover of Al-Qaeda that used to be part of the ISIS in Syria. All of them came together with one focus: get rid of Bashar al-Assad. But Russia kept him in power. Russia, Iran, through Hezbollah and Hamas, all giving him support to stay in power.
The area power from Russia, particularly.
From Russia. Russia, of course, also had a base in the place, so that the U.S. could not even enforce a no-fly zone. Because they were afraid that their airlines could come.
There could be crossfire attacks and all.
And you don't want to start a third world war, like they said. But at the moment, the Syrian Democratic Forces, backed by the U.S., these are the Kurdish people that you talked about, advanced and joined other groups. And within the Assad government, too, there were people who were tired, who didn't want him to continue in power.
There was celebration over Damascus, the people trooped out.
And that was why the prime minister, who should have run away with the president, stayed back to hand over power to the rebels. And then you have Turkey, also fighting against Syria, because Turkey believes that part of Syria is being used as a base to attack her. That's what Tayyip Erdogan believes. However, he now has to deal with the Kurdish that he believes have been tied to the PKK,
who are also causing trouble in Turkey.
And that's why, if you see what the rebels or who are just taken over have done so far, has done so far, if one, they have not allowed looting.
It's been peaceful, really.
It's been
very peaceful. They've been very orderly, at least for now.
They have also said that we are going to protect minorities, so that nobody has. So have nothing to fear.
So whether you were from the ethnic group of Assad
or Druze or Sunni,
everybody will be fine.
This is a new country, and what they are trying to do is to telegraph a message that look, we are a different government, and we are going to give everybody a home state in Syria. And that was the reason why Assad himself, knowing that Russia, because of the Ukrainian war, there are so many things that has happened in the last few years. One of the things that happened is when the U.S. was going to exit from Afghanistan, the U.S. had thought that the Afghan army was going to be able to put up a resistance against
whatever they were living for them.
The Taliban for a long time. It didn't happen. Okay? Now, when you look at what has happened in Syria, the U.S. also thought that Bashar al-Assad is going to be able to fight to stay. It couldn't. Just like the U.S. also believed that Russia was just going to run over Ukraine.
And it has not happened.
And that has also not happened. That is because when you go into a war, you cannot predict exactly what will happen. And so, but what we saw is that Bashar al-Assad already had given up. The
help was not coming by Mr. Curtis.
Well, apart from the help, I think he also got tired of fighting. And in the last 1 year or so, he's been planning to exit. That's why his quick exit didn't come as a surprise. Because he knew that without Russia and without Hezbollah, because you see, what Israel did, in fact, most people have said that Israel paved the way for the collapse of the Assad government
regime.
Because when you take out Hassan Nasrallah and about 4 or 5
in recent times,
of his key leaders,
allies out of the way.
And don't also forget that Israel also took out Ismail Haniyeh in Iran.
In Iran,
which is the
backbone. And then another Hamas leader that was living in Damascus.
So
automatically.
So they broke his backbone.
They broke his backbone. And with Russia tied up, because right now the Russian economy is struggling. In fact, Russia is getting help from North Korea in terms of troops.
Yeah, helping to get
weapons and equipment to be able to sustain the battle against Ukraine, because you have NATO supporting Ukraine, and then
weapons
you have the United States.
Logistics.
In fact, President Biden just approved almost $1 billion.
The funding has been heavy. It's been heavy.
So Russia miscalculated there. We don't know when will happen when Trump takes over. He's already called for both of them to cease fire. We don't know what is going to happen.
To happen eventually.
But what happened in Syria is that, and this is a lesson to the world, and also to dictators, that no matter how long you oppress the people, no matter how long you stay in power, you will never win against the people. With all the powers and the forces at his disposal in the last 24 years, look at how easy it was for these guys to steamroll into the capital, Damascus, and for him to escape with his dear life and that of his family.
Well, so, a lesson for leaders who think that, look, they can, oppress the people, dictate to the people, signatory to the ICC convention, because before you know it, they might start to look for him for war crimes and all of that.
Well, he'll be in Russia.
Definitely. Okay, maybe. Well, we don't know his whereabouts for now. So
it's going to be. He was escorted out of Damascus by Russian planes.
So well, if he's in Russia, then at least he will be protected for now. So he will join his friend who is being looked for also by the ICC. But Nuruddin, there are people who have said that, look, don't celebrate too early. These rebels, yes, it's been orderly, like Barrister Curtis said. They've said, look, they're going to protect all minority groups. But the lessons we've learned from Libya and some other rebel-controlled territories have shown that a lot of times they also get into power. They are not able to coordinate themselves. They are not able to organize themselves. Then they begin some form of civil war amongst themselves. You have splinter groups. So it becomes almost like a lawless state. And that's what some analysts...
Like South Sudan.
Like South Sudan, rebels work together. The youngest nation was produced, but look at what has become of that country. So there are people who are already predicting that, look, that might also happen in Syria.
With the forces that join together to really make this particular party to be okay, it's going to be very difficult to really hold. But one thing that is so certain is this. That sex has really played a major role in Syria, especially
the polity of Syria.
Yes, especially when you have, that Sunni is highly dominated. Even when you see some country around them, look at Turkey, for instance, now. So by the time you look at all other ones, then when you look around, also you discover now with the combination of all these forces, you have Sunni part of it, you have some Salafis part of it, so you have different particular groups. So but one thing that is so certain is that the way they will coordinate themselves is going to determine going forward. Then another thing again is this: who are those people in Europe that will lay claims to their backup? Now we could see the hands of physical, we could see the hands of United States of America. You could also see some other hands apart from the one of Russia, and indirectly Russia also has one hand. We know the one of Israel. And another thing again is that Turkey itself has to be checking itself. You have to be checking itself. So with that, we want to see how they can coordinate. But one thing that is so certain there is this: I think the way they fought this particular war within the last 12 months, I think their focus is majorly for the leader to leave, and he has left. It now depends on that all the groups within that particular state are protected. That one is also key because it brings unity. When that unity comes and you see the majority seeing that their interests are being protected, minority, what they will be looking up is that, okay, let us try to organize a kind of a people that will lead and move forward.
But Barrister Curtis, he was again type Erdogan has been saying that, look, there are too many refugees, over about 5 million refugees all the way from Syria. And I can confirm that indeed Turkey had already started to have some serious refugee problems because of the influx of refugees from Syria. In fact, if you get to the street of Istanbul, the Syrians are there begging, practically constituting nuisance. And so it was also a major talking point, really, for domestic politics in Turkey. That look, there has to be peace in that country because
so that they can go back home.
They can go back home because they have become almost like a public nuisance, really. For them in Turkey, which I actually witnessed. You practically see Syrians dragging your clothes, begging for money on the streets of Istanbul. But beyond all of that, because again, there are people who have said that look, the major person of influence has to be Erdogan. He has to now wield some influence. He's a friend to almost everybody. He's not completely an enemy to Iran. He's not completely a friend or enemy to even to Israel. He has the ears of the United States, an ally with them and all of that. That look, he can now step in and ensure that look, these rebels don't cause bigger problems for Syria. Because if he thinks 5 million refugees from Syria is a problem, if these guys turn that state to a gang state, he's probably going to have 5 million more people crossing. So can Erdogan help? And how can these rebels, which a lot of people are doubting, coordinate themselves so that it doesn't become a problem for Syria?
I don't think Erdogan can play that role.
He can't. So who can play that role?
Erdogan is not that strategic. I think it would take a more nuanced and deeply grizzled
leader
political attitude of the rebel leaders to come together and say, look, we can form a country.
Can they do that?
Yeah, that's what the world is banking on. Because if they don't, if they choose to go the path of the leaders in Iraq who went after members of the Ba'athist Party after the Saddam Fedayeen,
the fall of Saddam Hussein,
because what will happen is that there are people that Bashar al-Assad used to keep his regime in power. And these were the guys who killed members of the rebel groups when they were trying to take over.
So they might want to go after them.
The military generals.
And they cannot all leave. They cannot all run away.
Of course, they are there.
They have families, they have
probably
friends.
Just melted into the civilian population now, waiting to see the next move
of these rebels.
And if they feel that they are going to be threatened, then they take up arms. And that will complicate
the situation,
the move forward for the rebels. Don't forget that you have these disparate groups who came together to achieve a purpose. Now that they have achieved that purpose and their chief enemy is no more on the scene, the struggle now will be against the different groups.
Have you seen rebels in any situation able to do what you're saying? Because again, we have to look at the precedents. Do we have anything that we can work with? Where rebels took over a country and are able to organize themselves?
It depends on the temperament of people. Look, we mentioned South Sudan.
Yes.
Jonah Garang was the one who fought for South Sudan for so many years.
To move out of Sudan.
He had the deputy Sɣᴏᴜ.
Yes, the two of them.
Him and Sɣᴏᴜ never fought each other. He died in a helicopter crash. Sɣᴏᴜ took over, and Sɣᴏᴜ and his deputy.
And now the one fighting.
They are the ones fighting. You understand? So you can have rebel groups, come together for one purpose to topple a government. And if they actually understand that the purpose for the country is bigger than their individual interests, they can cobble together a country that will work. Okay? All they need to do is to introduce a system of government that gives everybody
inclusive government.
An inclusive government. So America also wants to see stability in the region. Israel wants to see
stability
in the region.
It's their own good too.
I would tell you that going forward, Israel is going to play a major role. It's not going to be in the open, but Israel is going to encourage certain kind of activities in Syria.
They're not going to leave it.
And that is why the prime minister stayed behind to hand over power to the rebels.
So it could have been an arrangement somehow.
Of course. Otherwise, they would have killed him when they marched into Damascus. If you have seen the video of him leaving the hotel, escorted by rebels, going to a place to go and hand over power, you say that he was so
there was a plan.
In fact, he was making a phone call while rebels were walking behind him. So again, I also not to rule out the interference of the United States
in this,
using some bogey forces in the Middle East. Don't forget that Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor of the United States, said, well, we don't have overriding strategic national interests here, but we have interest that we have peace in the Middle East.
Okay, well.
And so going forward, you are going to see more of the big powers trying to come in and try to see how they can shape things up to keep that area quiet.
All right. Yeah. But we'll take these two issues. It's still Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. We have Barrister Curtis Adigba in the studio with us, and we also have Nuruddin Adigba. I think we've been able to deal with the Ghana elections. Congratulations to them. Wait to see what happens in Syria. Let's hope that it's going to be different from what we...
Yes. Incidentally, only Libya and Iran, other different circumstances. Iran, of course, was a government that was toppled by the United States, the coalition of the United States.
Yeah.
Libya was the rebels group that took over as a result of the Arab Spring. But in the case of Egypt, there was the Muslim Brotherhood that swept to power,
and then another protest,
and then this current General Sisi, who was the chief of the army, had to come from the United States.
Who is a friend of the U.S. and other foreign powers. All right, so let's hope this will also be show live on Facebook and YouTube. And so you can join the conversation, drop your comments. A lot of comments I can already see on our Facebook platform. I think a lot of them really waiting for us to come back home to talk about our own politics. You can also join us on...
The plane just started that.
So we are back home now. So let's quickly deal with this. 5 minutes, really. Look at these two issues, because the tax reforms bill and that battle, the legal battle between Dele Farotimi and the Are Fᴏʟʟᴏᴡ is one issue I also want us to touch on this evening. Now, the Labour Party, and then, of course, the PDP also lost Etiatake Iborisweno. Now, the Labour Party defectors are Tochukwu Okere from Imo State, Donatus Matthew from Kaduna State. You know him.
I know him.
The man that
he
never to the APC. You know. And then you have Basi Akiba from Cross River State and Iyare Esosa this defection in court. In fact, the PDP has declared the seat of Iboriswenu vacant, although she has said she did the right thing. And of course, these effectors are saying the same thing by Mr. Curtis, that there is crisis.
There's no crisis in the Labour Party.
The court. No, but even the PDP, that's what she's saying. That look, with the crisis in the PDP, you know, she had to defect and all of that. But Mr. Curtis, quickly, what does it say to the opposition ahead of 2027? As it is, I think we've agreed on this platform that, look, the opposition is heavily weakened. This is probably the most disorganized opposition we've ever had. But now that you are getting defectors, which some analysts have said that, look, it's just a start. More of those guys will defect. Do you think that, look, the one-party state story that we are hearing is probably going to be a possibility?
We're not likely to have a one-party state.
Yes.
But like I told you here in this studio before, the Nigerian political ecosystem is like a river with two deep ends. Seasonally, one end gets deeper than the other, and all the fishes move there. The current takes them there. When the one on the left gets deeper,
they go to the other side.
That's exactly what you are saying. Now, those who contested on the platform of Labour Party are those who were rejected by the two major parties anyway, by the APC and the PDP.
So they just went there as the third option.
They just went there, and then they were able to get
Fortune smiled on them. They were lucky.
Of, the political atmosphere that a lot of Nigerians wanted a change from the two major political parties. These were not believers in the ideals
of the Labour Party anyway.
Of the Labour Party anyway.
Did the Labour Party even have any ideology anyways?
Of course. Well, and as they see this turbulence, you know, turbulent flight does not mean it's going to crash. But they
jumped ship.
Because of their weaknesses, they fear, you know, if you listen to a member of the Labour Party was on one TV trying to explain these defections, he said, these are my colleagues, I spoke to them. The problem is that they are not sure that they will get their tickets to come back to Abuja. Number two, they are not sure that they will be able to mop up the resources. And they believe that joining the ruling party provides them that opportunity. But you know, we've said here before that there was a time in Nigeria when the battle for the ticket of the PDP was fiercer than that of the election.
Because you were in power.
That was the election. Because
when you get the ticket,
once you have the ticket of the PDP,
you are as sure as winning the election.
You are just going to glide to power. That is the same thing that is going to happen with APC in 2027. You are going to have more people
fighting for the ticket of the APC than even the main election.
Of course. And those who will lose, dissatisfied with the process,
will now go back to or go look for other alternatives.
Without looking for alternatives. So it's not just necessarily a good thing that because you have more people moving into the APC now. Number two, APC with majority in the National Assembly has not translated to earth-shattering or earth-breaking innovation or in terms of power, the government
policies and ideas.
You know, so really it makes no difference. However, I think it is important that we trigger the provisions of our constitution
About this defection.
about this defection. Now, the framers of the constitution understands why they decided that if you are a member of the executive, you cannot do more than 2 terms,
So you are limited.
either as governor or
Or
president.
president, yes.
But a member of the National Assembly or the State House Assembly,
Unlimited.
your
Has no
terms
limitations.
are unlimited because they believe that your people, if they are satisfied with the
Can
performance,
continue to return you.
But then, what the framers did was to say, okay, why you as a member of the executive can defect from one party to the other, you don't have to give any reason why you are defecting.
As a member of the executive, because you have limited time.
But as a member of the legislature, elected by the same people, you cannot change party and keep your seat, except you can prove that there is a division
in the party.
in the party.
That makes the party completely unfunctional.
Now, what is division? Division is not Fuhad and Curtis insulting each other
In the party.
in the party.
As party members.
No, it is not us fighting and even throwing blows. The Supreme Court laid down the conditions clearly in Abengude's case.
Yeah.
And the court said the division must be such that the political party is incapable of acting.
Of presenting a candidate or acting as a party.
Yes, so they don't have the infrastructure, the structure anymore. You don't have
Because of that crisis.
Yes, you don't have a structure of the party that is known to INEC that says it can present a candidate. So you, as a member of the National Assembly or the State House of Assembly who wants to return to the House, and because that party cannot represent you,
So let me quickly leave them.
so you leave them.
But
and
why
go.
do our legislators
But what
keep
they do
testing
now-
these provisions of the law?
Because the court has not made a definite pronouncement other than Abegude, which of course should have been sufficient, because that judgment came from the Supreme Court. So
yes.
every other court
Should have
will
been the
follow.
precedence, really.
But you know, you live in a country where after a Supreme Court judgment, some people will go back to the Supreme
For
Court and ask
interpretation.
the Supreme Court to
to interpret itself.
interpret itself or reverse itself immediately.
Because if that had been the precedence, people would be daring it like
Let me
this.
tell you what happened. Let's go back to a little bit of history.
Yes.
I think it was in 2019 that the then president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, and some senators. Okay, before then, in 2015,
2015 years.
Bukola Saraki and some senators and 5 PDP governors left the PDP and joined the APC.
APC, the NPDP of that time.
You know that the PDP went to court and challenged the defection of the National Assembly members.
Yes.
They left those of the governors because they know under the constitution
They can
the governor
defect.
can do party. But you know, and then the PDP called on Senator Mark, who was the president of the Senate, to declare the seats of those senators
Vacant. Yes.
But he decided to seek for political solution. The matter was in court, and the verdict never came until that assembly, the tenure of that assembly ended. And with that, nobody followed it up. And that is the same situation we have in Rivers State now, where members of the State House Assembly openly declared for another party, abandoned the party that elected them,
Yeah.
and they are still sitting there.
What they are saying
So-
that they didn't write anything, there was no document
We
to show
saw
they
it.
defected. But we saw it on TV.
We saw it.
So, but things have changed now. So
We saw
the-
it.
the-
So
yeah.
what is happening is that, look, politicians will continue to skirt at the edge of this legality in the name of we have a division or we have crisis. And of course, what they do, even when there is none, they manufacture one.
they cause the crisis.
And the crisis is the crisis for it to meet the condition laid down by the Supreme
It's
Court.
not only your state.
It has to be the national level of the
Yeah,
party.
Not even your national.
Not at the world
What
level.
level? Where you? So even if you cause crisis at your ward, I think the Supreme Court was very careful, really, to say, look, these guys are capable of causing trouble at
Yeah.
all.
No, that's what they do.
But at the national level is what we are talking
That's
about
what they
now.
do. In PDP, yes. They have disagreement.
Because even the Rivers Assembly members are crossed. They're
issues, like even the APC.
yes,
But they have a structure.
that is still presenting candidates. They are still
So-
running the party.
This is what you see when you elect people without basic principles to the norms of democracy into power. And you know, the majority of these people actually did not set out to. People tipped them like a Boris daughter. The only qualification to go to the house of
she's a Boris daughter.
Is a Boris daughter. And because the father is now leaning towards PDP, towards APC.
APC. So maybe she even
the body language.
The body language this way.
You know what happened? You know what happened in Benue?
Yeah.
When Senator Mark's daughter, Blessing Onu, had to contest, I think, under Labour Party or APGA, because she couldn't get the ticket of the PDP. The ticket of the PDP actually went to her own uncle, who was deputy speaker of the House of Assembly. And then she defeated her uncle to win that election. And once in Abuja, she defected to the APC.
The movement continues. No, really, because of time, Jonathan's poster is everywhere in Kano. Strategic locations, actually. And it's a group called Team New Nigeria. Signed and saying, look, New Nigeria 2027. Jonathan, the right choice. Why not Bayelsa? Why Kano? Who are these guys? There are people who said they are a splinter group from the APC. The APC said, no, we don't know them. They are not our members. So a lot of back and forth. But for political considerations and permutations, because again, remember that Bala Mohammed, who is also the governor of Bauchi State and the chairman of the Governors Forum in the PDP, has said that, look, if Jonathan decides to run, he's going to drop any ambition at becoming president in 2027. Do you think this Jonathan permutation is a possibility?
You remember Tan?
Yeah.
You know what? There are a lot of calculation in the mind of PDP now. I mean the real PDP. There are some people that are not real PDP members.
They are fake PDP members.
No, they are registered members, but they are not
fringe.
They
just did there.
They just because there are some calculations going out now, and that calculation is what is tilting towards Jonathan. Now, PDP wants a situation in which if we are not going to get a northerner to be our flag bearer, then we need somebody that is going to be from the south, that is going to use one tenor, to complete the tenor of the current president, so that the southerner will not be thinking that, no, they are bringing somebody from the north. No, we are giving you somebody from the south. And there are some certain people in the north, especially in the north central, that are positioning themselves as a vice presidential candidate. So, and that is the calculation that is going on. Like with the one, and the reason why they are choosing Kano is for some certain reasons. One.
What was strategic about Kano?
One. Don't forget, the national leader of NNPP, Rabiu Kwankwaso, is ready. Anybody that can merge together to fight this APC,
he's ready to be a deputy. He has said he's ready to be a vice president.
Even not vice president alone, he's ready to really merge. So, because that one is one.
He has a problem with his party.
What do you say?
He has a problem with his party.
He has Kano in his hand as of today.
Well, but
if you want
that NNPP.
But if you want the governor to be removed today, we are not talking emotions now. We are talking politics.
Real politics.
They will remove the governor. I'm telling you, it's a fact. So now that one is one. Then two, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, the national chairman of APC, is from Kano State. Although the power of APC in Kano has been weakened, if you say the power in Kano is 100%, I think he has nothing, is below 20%. So having a place to really do that kind of agenda is another thing. Then the third one is this. If you look at the Northwest generally, you will discover that Kano is one of the states that you can say the leading state, either in terms of population, in terms of the number of House of Rep members, and other calculations that you want to calculate in the northwest and the northeast. You must put Kano into that conversation. So that is one thing. Then another thing again is this: no matter how Jonathan, former president, is shaking his head, look, every politician.
They want
always have the mind
that they can return.
They can return.
I'm sure Mahama will even begin to say one or two things to him. That,
and they are friends.
And they are friends.
No,
good friends.
No, one thing again is that don't forget that one thing that if you see the way Jonathan has positioned himself after leaving power. Today you see him with PDP. Today you see him with APC. He has positioned himself in such of a way
as a friend to everybody.
As a friend to everybody. So in case you need shock absorber from your party.
Or you need a friend.
Or you need a friend
across the Niger.
That can make sure the calculation gets right.
And for everybody, I'm a peaceful man.
And that's why you are going to see him that when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu won the election, you saw him with him, and you could see the last statement he made during the week, even in Rivers State. You'll be able to know, and that is the kind of thing. But one thing there is in politics, you don't say a politician will not contest or he will contest. But one thing that is so is part of the calculation going on now.
All right, Barrister Curtis, yes. Jonathan.
What happens in Nigeria is that unofficially we will now have a zoning arrangement.
Yeah. That we are now working with in our minds.
Within the two dominant political parties in Nigeria. That if you have a candidate from the north that spent 8 years, you have got to get another candidate from the south. For 8 years. Now, that was the spirit in which Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged as a president. However, there is increasing dissatisfaction with the way he has conducted his government. Either in appointments, the economic policies, and it has affected the northern part of the country more than any other part
of the country.
All right? To the point now that the tax reform bill, which we are going to talk about shortly,
next, yes,
is alienating key supporters of the president in the north. Because the argument has shifted from policy to one of ethnicity and religion. And that's what's happening in our country every time. Anytime there is a policy proposer, those who are proposing it think there's perfect policy. And those who oppose it cannot say anything.
And if you say anything, you're an enemy of the state.
You're an enemy of the state.
Or enemy of the government.
Focusing on the issues as contained in the bill, the debate quickly devolved into ethnicity, religion, and then political differences. So what you find here is that as the North becomes more increasingly dissatisfied with this administration, and not used to being outside of power,
and now they are seeing themselves
they are beginning to strategize ahead of 2027. And what do they want to do? They also understand that the national mood,
that sentiment,
does not support another northern candidate becoming president after 4 years of Bola Tinubu
and 8 years of Buhari.
So they're thinking and say, okay, so how do we do this?
Create this balance.
Yes, in such a way that we don't turn the entire South against our party.
So that's the calculation that is favoring Jonathan.
Yes. So when you then come to the South is made up of Southwest,
Southeast.
South. And if you remember, the South has always cried about being marginalized. In fact, they said we contribute more to the health and the economy of the nation, and we have been marginalized. We don't have anything to. Even our son, who became president, was not allowed to do a second term. So the thinking in the North is that, okay, if we go south,
where do we go to?
And then we go to South, where we have someone who had served one term already.
Just has only 4 years more to go.
It cannot go beyond one term.
It balances the equation.
Because if you pick a fresh person,
he wants 8 years.
Even when he promises us that he will do only 4,
he will want to do second term.
We know that he will manipulate the system and take a second term.
Yes.
So that is why the calculation is favoring Jonathan. And what is interesting about the Jonathan candidacy is not just going to be the candidate of the PDP. It's going to be a candidate of a coalition.
Of course, yes.
And you know, this has been established all over the world. Whenever you have a political party in power that is dominating and keeping out key players out of the political process, you always find them come together, forgetting about their differences.
Yeah, renegades.
We saw that happen in Germany immediately after the Second World War. Not too long ago, we saw it happen in Chile, where the Socialist Party and the Christian Democratic Party came to end sworn enemies.
You had to work together.
But they came together just to get rid of Pinochet out of power. And we also saw it in Nigeria in 2015.
Yes, where sworn enemies had to work together to remove Jonathan.
And so
you think
that's the permutation that you are saying. Now, why Kano? Kano, of course, is the bellwether of Nigerian politics. They have the population. You remember that in 2015, Kano gave Buhari almost 5 million votes.
For those votes, eh?
So every politician will fight to have Kano, Lagos, and Rivers State in their column. Right? And that is why, as we get closer to 2027, the battle in River will be very fierce.
Yes.
In Rivers State.
Because there is no way Fubara and Wike will be...
Have this problem in Kano.
Yes.
I think just over the weekend, the police had to barricade the entire
Emir's Palace.
Yes. It's been a lot of conversation. It was supposed to go install, I
think the district
head, and so we still see the involvement of the police in the politics of Kano, especially when it comes to the emirship.
What is happening?
All of that, yes.
What is happening is that what you see there is a proxy war between Rabiu Kwakwanso and then Umar Ganduje, okay, who used to be best of friends, political partners, and as one enemies. And so you saw that it was Ganduje who removed Sanusi, and then they fired the Emirates.
Yeah.
Just like Abubakar Karimi did it, and
Bakenzo
again,
unified it. Yeah.
So the challenge is for the Kano Emirate to look up to the government and say, don't destroy our traditional institutions.
You can fight politics,
Yes.
but spare the tradition. Yeah.
So they know that Kano is the hotbed of northern politics.
So that's why the agenda is starting from
That's
there.
why it's starting from there.
All right.
And if they are able to put all of them together, you will say that the president has got an uphill
Task.
But in the last few days, I have seen
moves.
I've seen moves on his own side. You've seen the dramatic change in the appointment that he's been making.
To balance things now.
In the last few days. Which is to tell you that he's getting the message.
He's getting the message. All right. Still Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. We're making this very, very fast because, again, it's an interactive show, so we have to open our phone lines for you to also be a part of the show. We're streaming the show live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can also drop your comments and contributions on those two platforms to be a part of the show. We have Barrister Curtis Adigba in the studio. We have Nuruddin Adigberu with us in the studio. Now, we're moving to the very contentious tax reforms bill, Nuruddin, Barrister Curtis Adigba. A lot of figures, a lot of analysis, what it's about, VAT or no VAT, the four proposed bills. It's going to favor the North, it's going to favor the South. We've seen serious divisions for the first time in this 10th National Assembly. It's almost like a rubber stamp assembly that cannot disagree on anything. They've worked very well, speedily passed bills. But now on the tax reforms, it's clear that the House is completely divided. And the division between the North and the South. Now, on Wednesday, the news came, in fact, the daughter's wedding. It was said because of this issue was taken to Abuja. And in Dume, after all the banter, the back and forth between himself and Senator Ndume. But on Wednesday, reps are taking a similar position. So the news was that, okay, maybe for more deliberations, more engagement, less all deliberations on this floor, because the bill had been passed for second reading and it was to go for it was at the committee channel for public hearing, which was part of the second process for second reading. But now it was said, look, let's halt deliberations, let's get more engagement. So people are thought, okay, maybe because of the noise that was coming from the North, the executive, the leaders of the National Assembly were already looking at having more engagement. But on Thursday, we saw a situation that looked like the people that owns the house had come back with their statements. They came with statements that have now left
bugging one.
Akpabio and Okpeyemi Bamidele, the
Senate
majority leader. Nobody can bully the Senate. Nobody can, if we are convinced that this must fly. I was going to play the soundbite of Okpeyemi Bamidele, but again, I'll leave it and just let us listen to what Akpabio had to say, because again, Okpeyemi Bamidele was very clear. He wanted to create some balance, but it was like, look, this thing will be passed. Nobody can bully us.
And he's deceiving himself. They don't have the number.
Now,
you understand?
Yeah.
But let's quickly listen to still Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be right back.
We had already, before we passed our second reading, set up an ad hoc committee in the event of any gray area. So if there is any governor, or any stakeholder in Nigeria, where no matter whether the person is a religious leader or a businessman that has problem with the bill, you know where to go to. Public hearing. the Senate will not be bullied. We are doing our work in the interest of Nigeria. And by the time we come up with our final position, it will reflect the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. And not only that, any reform that we can make, painful as the reform may be, so long as this Senate is convinced that it is in the interest of Nigerians, we will go ahead with it with a view to bringing our economy on a forward march in support of the administration. But we will not also shy away from deleting or abrogating or stopping whatever we feel is not in the public interest. But for the tax reform bills, we believe that there are too many provisions there that would definitely help Nigerians. The capacity of taxes to be abrogated. You can imagine what it means for people who earn less than the minimum wage or even minimum wage not to pay tax. So the exemptions are such that up to 100 million Nigerians will benefit from these tax reform bills. So let's not listen to social media. Let's not listen to Arise Television. And I hope they are well guided with the explanation of the Senate leader. Yes.
Well, that was the voice of the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. I don't know why he had to attack the media, but people were just basically doing their job, you know. And to say that they should not listen to them, they don't listen to social media,
And it's on social
and
media.
it's on social media, you know. So, but so that we don't waste too much time, you've listened to all of this back and forth. What do you make of this, Mr.
With Akpabio, when you thought that you have seen his lowest, it creates a new one, and I think it has problem understanding democratic norms. Akpabio sees power as power for the sake of power. He doesn't. I mean, you cannot blame him for someone who served as governor for 8 years, has one of the biggest cases of corruption with EFCC, and then he got to this position. So why do you have to blame him? But having said that, his madness had some method. I think there was this feeling within the government that Jubril Barao wasn't doing a good job. People like Alain Dume and co. So that's why
bullied him. So
that's why you saw Okpeyemi Bamidele
come fighting, really.
come out swinging and Akpabio having. Look, for crying out loud, I don't think ordinary Nigerians who are poor and hungry fighting for basic survival can intimidate the Senate, who are Senate by all standard millionaires, people who are doing very well. The only disagreement so far has been in the Senate from senators and their colleagues.
Yes.
From one part of the country, who are saying we are not satisfied with the provision of this bill. And let's give a small background. I know we don't have the time.
Yes.
It was in July 2023 that the president established a fiscal committee made up of 38 members.
Tax Reforms Committee. Originally was, I think they gave them 4 billion.
Yes.
We talked about it.
Originally was made the chairman, coming from PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Yes.
Tax expert, no doubt about that. But let me even talk about the Oyedele himself. The reforms that Oyedele is proposing today, his committee is proposing,
is what he against.
Was what he was against in 2019. He sent out tweets saying that you cannot increase VAT
at this point
in an economy that people are suffering, that the economy is not good.
And the economy at that time
is better than
what we have now. But what has changed?
The only difference is that his proposal says you should not tax food. You should not tax medical and health
products.
And so it's succeeded in excluding some things. But I think where the problem is really, and this is where the Northerners are talking about that, under the current arrangement, the sharing when it goes to the federal allocation, the FAC, is used to be 15, 50, and 35.
Now that will change a bit.
Now they are proposing that it should change to 10, 55, and 35 because they have added the FCT. But then when it comes to sharing the money itself, the proposal that they are making is that I think you have 30% on equity, on
and
equality,
then the substantial part,
and then the substantial one, which is 60, goes to derivation. But the argument is that in doing that, you have to tweak the system for distribution, which is to say that, okay, the biggest payer of VAT is MTN. And Lagos is getting all the credit because MTN is headquartered in Lagos. Now, according to that committee, what they have said is that, look, subsequently, if a SIM card is bought in Kano,
it should count for them.
It should count for Kano. And so when you look at the data that they put forward in making the argument, that under the current regime, Lagos is getting about 80-something% in terms of sharing. But when you apply their own method, it will go down to about 15. And the Kano that used to be 0.8 something, will now something is too good.
Be careful.
Be careful. Why would Lagos want to give up its significant advantage?
It is too
in
good
terms
to be,
of generation.
It is too good to be true, so don't jump at it.
And derivation. Is it because those who manage Nigeria now love other parts of Nigeria more than Lagos? So the argument is that the devil is in the details.
Don't just bobo us.
Don't rush us into these decisions.
Let's take our time.
Give us time. And the government is in a hurry to enact these laws. That's what I mean, to enact these laws because they are 4 bills.
Me by in statement said that look, we are going to get this done once we are convinced. So why the rush? Really?
There are 4 bills in that proposal,
together,
and the attitude you see with Akpabio and Okoyemi,
it's not even comforting to the dissatisfied minds.
It's going to worsen the situation because instead of them to say, look, this is a Senate, a Nigerian Senate, and we can always work together.
But is there a problem with halting a bill? Because halting debates and resolutions on a bill. Because what Okoyemi was saying that, look, it's only the executive that can withdraw the bill.
No, they don't want. See, this is the problem that you now have the leadership of a National Assembly that is beginning to act like an extension of the executive.
Yeah.
Because they're even disparaging their colleagues. Look at the South Senators Forum. Came out already saying we're in support of that bill, no matter what the North wants to do. But here is the situation. Without the Northern support in the Senate and in the House, that bill cannot pass.
Cannot pass.
Yeah.
No matter the arm twisting. If they can come together as a group and say, we are not going to support this bill. And this is why the president needs to, does he have the political capital to spend? Because
on this one issue.
Because now we are hearing his supporters calling the governor of Borno State a fake professor.
He has suddenly become a fake professor.
Yes.
Because he said that particular bill is not in the interest of the...
And they want more time to study it.
He's going to mobilize governors in the North and others to ensure that they have time to study that bill. And if it's not favorable to the North, then they won't let it go. Now he's a fake professor. And this is not only with this regime. Think back. Every time a government in Nigeria proposes a bill, all right, in their mind, it is not up for debate. There should be no conversation.
Let it go.
Just go and pass it. Those who challenge the bills, either by pinpointing gray areas and all that,
or want more time to study,
suddenly become the enemies of the government. And that's what we are seeing. And I think that it is time for the president himself to begin to do more consultation. Okay? It's not everything that is good for you that is good for the other people.
For others. And for those who think they need more time, why not?
Why don't you give it? This is a
and
nation.
House of Rep members,
yeah,
those ones, in fact, on that day,
they almost beat themselves up.
They are even waiting that they should even try to put it on the table. Because with the number of people shouting,
they've not really made progress at the House of Reps on the bill at all.
You know, House of Reps has always
and you know one of the things that they did, they organized a public forum.
Yes.
Where they brought in the former Speaker Dogara.
Yes.
Who gave a speech, was quoting about JFK and all that.
What was the political relevance of Dogara in this?
Exactly. And I think what they wanted to achieve was the fact that
there's a voice from the North.
A voice from the North. And he said, I'm a Northerner, and I think this is the best thing for us and all that.
Okay.
But of course, we know there's a concept of Northerner. And this is not the Northerner. We know that. This from Tafawa Balewa in Bauchi State.
Bauchi State, yes. So, well, there are people who have said, because we might have to leave the last issue for this evening. Maybe take it to next week. I'm sure there will be more developments because the Faro-Timi arrest situation. Yeah. Maybe when the court sits December 10th.
That issue is not even a difficult issue.
Yes.
The man wrote a book.
Yes.
Where he made claims.
Yes.
That Afe Babalola
did compromise the Supreme Court to get a judgment. Yes.
And that the Nigerian judicial system
is corrupt.
Our law is very simple. He who alleges
must
have to prove.
Yeah.
The whole argument is that the way and manner he was arrested from Lagos and taken to Ekiti.
That's the issue.
That criminal deformation is not in the law of
Lagos
Ekiti, where it's being possessed. But what they don't understand is that the magistrate cleverly adjourn the matter to consider bail, the magistrate can come up on the 10th and say, this is not within my jurisdiction. And I cannot handle it.
But we're even hearing that they're already filing cases
in the Federal High Court.
Yes.
Now, the problem with our country is that we all want to eat sausage, but we don't want to know how sausage is made.
It's baked.
You can argue that federal defamation is a federal offense
yes.
and therefore cannot be prosecuted by state. You can also argue that even if Babalola himself in a paper had condemned criminal defamation,
yes,
because he laid 3 conditions where he talked about public interest, whether it is the truth and all or whether it is national interest.
In the past, he had also talked about
all that. And that he also had the right to go civil.
Yeah.
But then if you stretch the argument, the judicial system that Father to me said is corrupt. Is the same one that prosecute both civil and criminal
cases.
I did not choose criminal.
So the argument that I don't understand and the outcry that I don't understand from most Nigerians is that who will stand by and be libeled or defamed in that manner and he will not do anything. That's one. Number 2.
But in doing something,
if you have done
what should have been done?
So if you have said that, is it not the court that will provide him the opportunity to substantiate?
But sorry. In this case, what people are saying is that, look, we've had defamation cases in the past, and you see people who claim to have been defamed just approach the court straight to seek redress.
Civil.
They just go to the courts, seek damages, call for retraction, and all of that. And there are people that are saying that, look, the reason why the police was involved in this case was just to punish Faroutim even before giving the opportunity to defend himself in court.
And those people who have said so may be right and they are entitled to their opinion. But he can come out and file a lawsuit against the police.
Yes.
But he would have gone through all of this.
But the problem,
this harassment,
the problem with his thesis is that the entire judicial system, people have their temperament, and their temperaments may be different. In his position, I would have taken the civil option. Do you understand? But then, again, the same Nigerians will say, Alpha Babalola is because he's a rich man, he's using the police. Don't forget that what this guy wrote, it's not that he gave a lecture, or he gave a speech.
Documented.
It's in permanent form.
Permanent form that is now the bestseller on Amazon.
And even there are already consequences, there are already reactions, even from Queen's College UK, from...
Yeah, because that is the highest court in the land. And like I've argued in our forum too, suspicion is not a substitute for evidence.
Yeah.
And in law, we say no matter how strong suspicion is,
it can't stand as evidence.
It's not evidence. You still have to provide the evidence.
And the legal battle will show whether I can do that or not. Okay.
Yes.
But Nuruddin, just quickly so that we can open the phone lines. I can see the calls coming in already. The consequences of the way the southern, political leaders of the National Assembly are taking the tax reforms bill. Ndume has said there will be political consequences. The governor, Zulum, professor, has said, look, political consequences.
Fake professor.
That they are taking note. That's what they are saying. That they are taking note. And even a Jibril Barau has somehow, quietly left the scene because of the backlash he's getting back home. Do you think that, look, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should tread softly? Like Barrister Curtis said, is he willing to dispense all his political capital on this one ahead of 2027?
I must confess, I have spoken to a lot of people from the north. And I'm telling you, this is a fact, it is not sentiment, and it's not about emotion. That with the way they are doing now, what the north are counting, they are not only counting about these issues, they are counting about what the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu have been doing that does not favor them. And they are listing it. And one thing there is this, whether we like it or not, in Nigeria today, the geopolitical zones that they are ready made, if you want to be a president, if you don't get majority of their vote, you are going nowhere. Is it not? Northwest, northeast, forget. You see the north central, the Barrister Curtis and his people is sharing, they will share those ones. But northwest, northeast, they are sure bankers. And with what is happening now, I think the president needs to look at it very well, represent this bill or withdraw this bill or give a room for people to tinker with it and let them voice out what they don't like. Because in the area of Sharia, because there's some parts they are even looking at it. When you say my father left property for me, maybe in large sum, and during his lifetime, it's already been taxed. By the time they want to share it, it's already been taxed. So that one is another thing again that they are even, in fact, they bringing coloration of religion into it. I think the president should not use this, because this particular one, as they say, consequence. They should go and ask Jonathan the meaning of consequence,
political consequence,
and at the same time, they should go and ask Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, as stubborn as he is, how he frustrated to get his second term ticket, upon how he's stubborn and whatever. That is the consequence we are talking about.
All right, but Mr. Curtis, just 30 seconds really. Does this rub off on the ego of the president if he decides to withdraw the bill for more consultation and then reintroduce it?
He doesn't need to withdraw the bill. He needs to tweak the bill and address the concerns of those who are not satisfied.
Bill should first be withdrawn from the National Assembly for wider consultation and reintroduced.
The president is not going to withdraw the bill. If you know who the president is, he's not going, because he sees this as a personal challenge.
That's what I'm saying. Is it a personal challenge? Really?
And the involvement is the most dormant vice president in the history of Nigeria.
That cannot speak for his people.
It's not being used at all. It doesn't even have a role to play in the government. You know, so I think that the president is a strategist, as that has been touted. But the thing is this what he's spending more political capital, given the fact that he doesn't have too much now?
Okay. All right, we'll open the phone lines now, 091-36000410, 091-36000410. Political Roundtable, mainland 98.3 FM. Hello, good evening.
I agree to all of you. God bless you all.
Yes.
The name still remains Prince Y.
Yes. We'll make it very fast this evening. 1 minute, fast. Yes.
Number one, I thank God. One of my sons got married yesterday.
Oh, congratulations to you, Prince Y.
Thank you, my dear.
Yes.
And I want to thank Mr. President. Why should he withdraw the bill? The professor you are talking about, he never go through that for bill. What I'm talking about, the whole professor. You are talking something to an ethnic matter. Mr. President, you are doing it right. Don't withdraw it. Let's just kill the bill. And you don't vote for Ahmed Bola Tinubu for only 4 years. Any other years, it belongs to God. So what Mr. President is doing now, I love it, I cherish it. Either the party, all they do, the stand Mr. President is taking now. To you all.
I don't know what Prince Y means by the president is not thinking of 2027.
You see the issue concerning that tax. Where the North agitating for is 2% or 10% of diversion to the North. Now we are talking about the Lagos State now. Lagos State have never generated VAT more than any other state. I am saying it because the benefit that are attaching to the Lagos State, because of most of the headquarters pay their value-added tax to the Lagos State. Exactly. As if the Lagos State consulting more than all the federation, no. That is the capital.
But Mr. Olaiwola, if what you say will favor other states, is what they are saying that look, they need more time to check and recheck again. Why not give them time to check it?
The reason why the Northern are agitating for this from the Northern that are political figure among of them. All of them that are from Lagos boys. This is that the issue.
Okay.
That is the issue. If the time that is set up the
committee
and the committee and including the part of the Northern, like 30% of them, this bill information could have go back to them and let them understand it.
That's a legitimate point.
Consulting all those areas consulting for you and give them the blueprint of your policies
before taking it to the National Assembly.
And we are talking about the people to come and invest in our country without even have a proper tax law. How are we going to implement a tax law? We are investing and they didn't pay tax laws.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Olaiwola.
All
right.
That is the issue here.
A very valid point. I don't have the full list of the committee really. But what you say is a lot of them are Southerners. I don't know whether the North was well represented.
They're not well represented.
All right. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I just want to make
your
a
name.
Comment.
Your name, sir.
My name is Demola Osagi. I'm calling from Ikoro.
Okay, please go on, sir.
Yeah, I just want to make a brief contribution concerning that of Afe Babalola and
okay, all right.
Fela Duro Toye.
Go on, sir.
Yeah, you see,
Farotimi,
yes. because I try to follow the trenches of these these cases on televisions and on your station, the radio.
Yes.
I comes to realize that even he knew that the police were coming for me.
He knew, yeah?
He knew.
Mm-hmm.
He knew there was a case filed in Ekiti State against him. He knew. He was just trying to play to the gallery. He was just trying to look for public sympathy. He knew all this thing was coming. That was why he called for a press conference and said the police knew where he is. I tried to look at the video clips. I never see where anybody was molested.
No. Mr. Ademola, if a case was filed against him, was there a court summon? There was nothing like that until the police arrested him and then presented him in court. Yes.
What steps did he take?
Yes.
What legal step did he take?
Yes.
To fight that process.
No. Look, if there's no someone, nothing, no document. Number one, if you listen to his press conference, he said that look, he had been invited in Lagos by the police severally, which he had honored. Zone 2. And in fact, in one of the occasions, they gave him administrative bail based on recognition. So on the case in Ekiti, the only thing that happened was that the police came after him, took him to Ekiti, and then presented him in court.
Since all this thing started,
yes,
we've not heard anything from the police.
From the police?
Yes.
The only one who is speaking.
In fact, the last thing they said was that they were still investigating the case.
But was he molested?
Well, we can't say. You were not part of the team that took him from Lagos to Ekiti.
No, I was not part of it.
We are not also part of it, so we can't say.
When they are saying it, it's like it was molested.
But my brother, when police carry you from Lagos...
Have you been in the shoes of these people from one state to another before?
To carry from Lagos to Ekiti, don't be play.
Especially when it is in the night.
All right. But thank you, Mr. Ademola. I'm sure you know what to win. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
You need to... Abubakar, right?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
You need to speak directly to your phone. You are sounding very far.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, better now. How is our papa this evening?
Okay, fine. Good evening, sir.
Yes, please. 1 minute.
On this issue, let me comment on this issue about Babalola and
Farotimi.
Look, I don't know why someone would be so bitter to the extent that you will be making this kind of allegation without an evidence.
The case. Do you know what is involved? You know the case is referring to? The land no be small land though. Over 250 something acres of land. If you understand what it means to lose a case that involves over 200 acres of land in Lekki.
Sure if he has evidence.
What I'm even saying is that because that's a case that he had won at the High Court and at the Appeal Court.
All he keeps saying
he's
making reference.
Yes.
He's making references to what people have said.
There was no any concrete. And on the issue of allegation that he said that Babalola, he was talking about there was a case that somebody that was his first employer and the person that came when he was getting married, he had a problem with him.
The court processes have started. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of who alleges must prove anyway, so we'll wait to see whether he's able to prove it. Yes. We
don't want any protest.
I actually think the protest is not even necessary, really. Thank you so much, Abubakar. 09136000410. We'll take this last call and then we'll try and deal with a few messages we have on Facebook. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, thank you very much. My brothers are able brothers. I greet you all.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Malam Bello Usman. I am calling currently from Idimo.
Okay, from Idimo. Please go on, Malam Bello.
Thank you very much. God bless you. You see, my prayer is very simple. And also, let me first of all tell you that I want to speak about the
tax reforms bill.
Bill. Yes. In fact, if you are conversant with the Bible, I am not too much conversant with the Bible. When God wants to deal with Nebuchadnezzar, he started like a play. And at the end of the day, Nebuchadnezzar became a beast in the wilderness. You see, I am praying day and night because I am strongly one of the supporters of this current government. But I am so disappointed. But I am also praying now that anything that will make them move move a step that will make them make a mistake that they will be kicked out of government 2027. Inshallah, I am praying, and this is the mistake has started now. Inshallah, by the grace of God, they will continue to make this kind of mistakes. Thank you very much.
Somebody prays that people should make mistakes. I don't know.
Nigeria will succeed.
Yeah. You know, he's talking politics.
I know,
You know, and from, of course, Malam.
And there are many people like that who supported this government.
I know Malam Bello is from the north, even though he stays in Lagos. So
a lot of feedback.
I don't know why he keeps people inshallah with that. All right, let's see whether we can deal with a few Facebook messages. I'd have to apologize to a lot of people with messages on Facebook here. Abdurrafiu Alabalakwe, he's saying, "Evening, gentlemen. Ogbeni Alabalakwe is my name from Sabo Ijewoniba. The tax reform bill is highly needed to help our economy." Well, thank you so much, Abdurrafiu Alabalakwe, for that. We have Charles.
Who gave him Ogbeni? When did he gone?
Where did he Mr. Now?
I know. Who gave him now?
We have Charles Luanga. He has this dance emoji, and he's saying I think he has a local language from Ghana in this message, and I can't read it. I don't understand what he's saying. But I think he's happy with what has happened in Ghana. All right. Maybe he's a Ghanaian. I think he's a Ghanaian, actually. Then we have Atonda Kayode who is saying hello to us, and he's saying, without any prejudice, there's a need to reform the tax system. States have now opened their eyes upon that before and go to piece that message together. We have Ibrahim Abba saying, "Good evening, gentlemen in the studio. My name is Ibrahim Abba. All the shit you." We have Ishola Vevinport saying, "Good evening, gentlemen in the studio. Concerning electoral process in Nigeria, it's not only Ghana we will learn from. I think Republic of Benin can put us through too. Ain't that funny? God bless Nigeria." My name is Davenport Ishola from Lagos. John Bernard is saying, "My question on this tax reform bill is that all soft drink is taken in Kano, all drink that is taken in Kano, or a call is made, where will the VAT transfer to for the drinks taken in Kano and the calls?" I think we've explained that already. Fatori Shaolabi is saying, "Good evening, gentlemen. Attempt to bring former President Jonathan back to power is not because he did. It's not because he did well or he can change our present bad situation for better, but it is purely northern agenda. They won't support any southerner that has potential or to be in power for 8 years after President Tinubu. They are not comfortable with President Tinubu's government, so they want a change in 2027. We also have Basil Chika saying patriotism, selflessness, and zero tolerance for manipulation are the ingredients for the free and fair election we witnessed in Ghana. Sunday Noah is saying former President Jonathan may not win the presidential election in the next dispensation if the president-elect real that the president executive bill is bound to meet a tough resistance like we are witnessing now, both from the intellectual stakeholders and even the National Assembly. Possible merger favor eventually happens." Well, we have to call it today now, but Mr. Curtis on the show. It's been a very wonderful and engaging one. Your last take for this evening.
Well, just to let Nigerians know that the fact that the party in power performed badly does not guarantee that the opposition will win the election. They just have to come together and do their homework.
Or else
that same party.
Because again, they keep saying the party is not doing well, people are hungry, but they've been winning elections back to back.
Yes.
So
because they know what to do. So the fact that a party is not performing does not mean
with the way we do our own politics
the opposition will win election automatically.
They don't get themselves organized.
No.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Curtis. Appreciate your contribution this week. Nuruddin, your final take.
Well, for me, a bill is good only when every Nigerian that the bill is meant to favor discusses it. I think it's the high time that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs to make sure that the bills is allow Nigerians
to have contribution
because it's meant for them. It's not for Tinubu. It's for all Nigerians. So they have the right to even talk about the bills, how it's going to be favor them or it's not going to favor them.
Okay, yeah. Well, we'll hope that. Let's see how it goes. Really, let's hope that this tough stand of some of the leaders of the National Assembly would drop a bit so that we can have a final resolution. Whether we like it or not, the bill is important. We are not questioning some of the very good suggestions and proposals that we have in the bill. For those that again want to look at what people are saying, what professionals are saying, I want to recommend, if you have time, to read what has been put down by former Attorney General of the Federation on that bill. An interesting publication in the Punch newspapers by Mohammed Bello Adoke. It was published in the Punch newspapers on December 6, 2024. He was the former Attorney General of the Federation between Minister of Justice from 2010 to 2015. You can Google what he has written about the tax reforms here. I think it will also help you understand why. Breaking news. I think he will get full protection from the Russian government.